Jeffrey Taylor creates unique pieces of pottery here in Duval, Saskatchewan, at his business called New School Arts. So it only makes sense that he signs each item that's big enough for his signature. Even though he's been running the business for over 15 years now, his original opportunity to study pottery came from some parental discipline while growing up in rural Saskatchewan.
Got into trouble in grade 11, and my parents said you can either be grounded for a very long time or go to private school. So I ended up going to Caronport for high school, and that was my first opportunity to take any full-term art classes. And so I dropped all my sciences and took my grade 10, 11, and 12 art classes, as well as a design class, and the grade 11 and 12 art classes had pottery.
Jeffrey gets his main supply of clay from Medicine Hat, Alberta. Right now he's working at what is known as the throwing wheel, where he gets the shape of the item to where he likes it. Even though he had a long, keen interest in art in general, there was something special for him about pottery from the first time he tried it.
This one, I don't know, it just feels so immediate to me, and you can have something right away. I mean, there's the steps in the process take a little while, but it's just that taking a lump of clay and making it into something so quickly.
A bucket full of wet clay called the slip is applied with various tools depending on how it's being used. Jeffrey adds coloring oxides to it in order to produce different colors. Then he likes to use various combs to further refine the appearance of the piece.
So that's fairly typical of a mug I make. And then I've taken these veterinary syringes and ground off the ends so they're not sharp, but they work really well for putting slip onto things. So, and then to shape them.
Jeffrey puts a lot of thought and work into making handles. He makes sure the working surface is moist enough so that the clay doesn't dry out. Then it should bend easily and not crack. He rolls the handle between two pieces of foam to make it easy to use once it's on the mug or other items.
Foam rounds the edges as it's being squished, and if I was just using the flat part of the rolling pin, it would leave a really flat surface on there, and I don't find that very nice to hold in my hands. So.
The trimming wheel, as the name suggests, is meant for trimming Jeffrey's pottery. Here he's using a tool he recycled from an old street sweeper to shape the bottom of a plate.
This was probably the hardest thing to learn, how deep to go without going through, because there's no real way to measure. And this really helps not only to shape it, but to take a bunch of the weight off of it too, so you can get a lot lighter product.
He has a wide variety of tools to add the features he wants to various items, including plates. Many of those features are strongly influenced by his rural surroundings.
I was thinking about living in a rural community and how that's affected me, and I think of a lot of these patterns as reflecting the farmland around me. Just driving around, you see the light reflected through stubble fields and things like that. They're just, a freshly seeded field just looks so beautiful.
After drying, which can take days or weeks depending on the humidity level, Jeffrey's pottery is fired twice in a computer-controlled kiln at 2,350 degrees Fahrenheit.
And then the bottoms are sanded once they come out of there, so they're nice and smooth and won't scratch the surface of a table or anything. And then they're ready to go to market.
Jeffrey and his wife Nadia live and work in a school built in 1928, which also serves as their store. In this part of the gallery, he made the shelving out of recycled railroad ties and barn board. He's an avid outdoorsman and has started making trays which reflect that.
I've always wanted to have something that kind of, for me, represents that, and I just kind of stumbled onto this form one day when I was making flat trays, and I picked it up, and it just fell into this shape, and so I've started doing a bit of development on that, and yeah, it just reminds me of how much diversity there is in the province.
About 3 years ago, Jeffrey was given several boxes of whitetail and mule deer antlers, which he thought would make wonderful teapot handles. The challenge was to find a secure way to attach them.
When we renovated the school, we ripped out all the old wiring, and so I started wiring them on with the old copper wiring and then using some stained glass techniques to add patinas and different textures to them. And so, yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones. It's not very often I do one with 3 antlers. It was quite an interesting challenge to join the 3 together.
He's extremely grateful for the support he's received in the Duval area. One of the biggest challenges of being located in a rural area is reaching urban customers, but modern technology is making this easier. One of his dreams for the future is to put on art retreats.
In addition to a thriving business, have a place where people who are suffering from any sort of trauma or difficulties in their life can come and get away from that and experience some of that healing that comes through creative acts.
The price of pottery produced here at New School Arts depends to a large degree on the amount of work involved. Their smallest bowls sell for as little as $5, while this antler-handled teapot would set you back $575. Occasionally, he'll make customized items for families, groups, or even the Prairie Farm Report.